told. That's probably the most basic part of it right there, is that I said yes and allowed it to happen. Because, we could talk all night about the things that happened, but the most important part is that when I asked, I said yes.
Did you know what you were saying yes to?
I thought I was saying yes to certain death.
You thought you were just fixing to give over your body, that's it, be done.
No, I thought I was going to be sacrificed. She told me I was. She told me that they'd kill me. For a week, she had me wrapped up in the thought that they're gonna take you, Charlie, and they're gonna kill you, and it's not going to be pretty.
They still might. Don't count that out.
Well, they told said she promised me. She said when they cut out your tongue, Charlie, your tongue will still talk. It'll lay there on the ground and talk. But they're gonna kill you. They're going to cut out your tongue from your mouth, and they're going to slice your throat, and they're going to open your gut, and they're going to disembowel you. And then they're going to
seeing how tough you were.
No. Because a week later, when I was in Camp Katrina, a place I didn't had any clue even existed, it looked like it was about to happen. They had the table laid out and everything. I thought they were really going to tie me to that table and do it to me. But what really happened was that as we were preparing, because Miss Pearl was planning on throwing a party the next day, right? So we had to put together the party, set up for it. So we did. They found this table, and we built it, and we set it up. And, the whole time I'm cleaning the table, I'm thinking they're about to tie me to this thing and kill me.
When Wendy said, Charlie, she meant it metaphorically.
Well, what happened, Wendy, was that it started raining. And everybody said, it's raining, run to your tent. So I did. I went and I ran to my tent. And when I got in my tent, I zipped it up against the rain, listening to the rain beat on the tent, and it happened. I felt them pull my tongue out of my mouth. I felt them cut my tongue out of my head. I felt them open my gut and pull out my bowels. And then I even heard the chainsaws in the thunder as they sliced me up. It's like, sacrificial lamb, sacrificial goat, whatever you want to call it. I felt every bit of it. And I'll say that it tickled more than it hurt. And
let me ask you, clear.
Okay.
Were you on any drugs at the time?
No. None whatsoever.
Were you asleep?
No.
This happened in a waking?
This happened, yeah. It was not a dream. It was a wake stage.
Were you paralyzed when it happened?
No.
Okay.
All right, you gotta see. You just have to ask the people at Camp Katrina and all those people around there how anti-drug I was. All right, I allowed myself to get beat in the streets because I'd go out there and I'd tell them sons of bitches, don't you be peddling that shit around here. We got enough trouble in this camp. And I literally got beat in the streets for taking on the crackheads.
Wow.
So,
well, Ninth Ward is no place to play, and people need to understand Camp Katrina was in the Ninth Ward. When I went down there...
Well, it's in the Bywater, yeah, but that's the upper Ninth, yeah.
When I went down there with you this Easter, there were still gunshots going off in the middle of the day. I went off and ventured out on my own because, I'm silly like that. And there were still gunshots going off in the middle of the day. It really, and it's cleaned up now. So I can only imagine what it was like when you were down there.
Well, actually, when I was down there, New Orleans is a very small town. There was only about 100,000 people back, and most of them were relief workers. But the first ones to move back in were the damn crack dealers. And it seems like even though you couldn't get anything else, by God, they had their drugs flowing. It just made me so angry. It made me so angry. Don't peddle that poison on our streets while we're trying to put our city back together. And it made me so angry that, that these people would give in to that. Like, haven't you been through enough trauma? For one thing, alcohol was free on the streets. Everywhere you turned.
How was that? Come on.
Everywhere you turned, they were gutting a convenience store somewhere. And when they gutted a convenience store, they threw it all out on the Graham Road. They used to call it, as a matter of fact, if you watch Camp Katrina, you'll see it. It's called the free beer store. Where they find a convenience store that had just been gutted, and they go and pick all the stuff up off the street. No, sir, Atomic Kangaroo, it wasn't looters. This wasn't looting. This is stuff they threw away on the street. It's not a matter of looting. It's a matter of, there it is, take it. I mean, look, one time at Washington Park, we had walked down the street and we found this bottle of wine, and it was pomegranate wine, And me and another guy were like, hey, cool. So we came back to the park and we opened the bottle of wine, and then one of the suits walks by and says, do you realize that's a $150 bottle of wine? And we're like, tastes pretty damn good to us. Don't know if I'd pay $150 for it, but it tastes pretty good. But that was the thing. Anything you needed was free on the street. It got to the point where my faith, I was being taught how to walk in faith. And it got to the point where my faith had the ability to where if I was sitting, somewhere and needed a pen, I could walk around the corner and find one on the street. Everything you needed. What I did was, at one point, was I would wake up in the morning, leave everything that I'd accumulated the day before behind me, and I would start walking. And by the end of the day, I had everything I needed. Food, clothes, everything, I mean, there was brand new clothes laying there on the street because what was happening was that people were being evicted. So stuff that didn't even get ruined in the floodwaters would wind up piled up on